Hi guys, today we will talk about which MacBook Pro is suitable for your needs if you are a PC user and decided to switch from Windows this year. So watch this video before you buy. So if you are coming from the Windows laptop universe, then things can be confusing with Apple Silicon. You will hear things like unified memory and GPU cores instead of what you are used to like RAM and GPU clocks. Now let's talk about the part that will cause the most confusion, and that's the GPU. I will now tell you the equivalent GPU from a PC laptop. But remember, this is not an exact equivalent, but just a similar teraflops to give you an idea of what to expect. Let's start with the entry-level M1. It has 8 GPU cores, and the AMD equivalent would be the RX 560. NVIDIA would be a GTX 1650. Now for the M1 Pro with 14 GPU cores, the AMD equivalent would be an RX 5500M, NVIDIA would be a GTX 1650. As for the M1 Pro with 16 GPU cores, the AMD equivalent would be an RX 5500, while NVIDIA would be a GTX 1660 Ti. When it comes to the M1 Max with 24 GPU cores, the AMD equivalent would be an RX 5700M, the NVIDIA equivalent would be an RTX 2070. The maxed out M1 Max with 32 GPU cores would be equivalent to an AMD RX Vega 56, while NVIDIA would be an RTX 2080. Now, let me be very clear before you jump to the comment section. This is in no way, shape, or form an exact comparison between Apple Silicon and AMD NVIDIA GPUs. It's not even close. So why mention it, you would ask? Okay, think about the average PC laptop user who doesn't follow the news about Apple or doesn't know details about the M1 Pro or the M1 Max. It's really hard for them to grasp the difference because of how different these architectures are. So this equivalence can give them an idea of where things stand when they want to configure their MacBooks. When it comes to gaming, you must know that you are better off with a Windows laptop with a dedicated GPU and features like G-Sync for two reasons. Boot Camp is no longer working on Apple Silicon, and the only way to play AAA games on the new Macs is using crossover or a compatibility layer or Parallels, virtualization software. So in both cases, it's not a native gaming experience, and in most cases, it's not optimal, and you will certainly run in some compatibility or performance issues. Now, if you're okay with this, and if you are satisfied with Apple Arcade, then great, the MacBook will be great for you. However, if you are a serious gamer, then it's better to get a Windows gaming laptop, or build your gaming desktop, and get the MacBook for content creation and Pro Tools. That's what I'm doing. Talking about content creation, as a Windows user, you would be happy to know that the Adobe Creative Cloud and DaVinci Resolve, for example, are greatly optimized for the M1 Pro and the M1 Max. We're talking faster app opening time and render time, as well as support for more intense workloads without drops in performance. If you want to try Final Cut Pro for the first time, then you will see even better performance coming from Windows. Your mind will be blown away. Trust me. As for other professional apps like AutoCAD, Unity, etc., you will be pleased to know that most of them are now native to the M1, and more apps will be in coming months. If you're a developer, then you will be happy to know that most development software is now native to the M1 as well, and it shows great improvement in build time. You can check my friend's Alex's channel where he does more in-depth benchmark. I will link it in the description. For most creative workloads, the M1 Pro with 10-core CPU and 16-core GPU is more than enough. If your work involves 3D graphics and VFX, then the M1 Max with 32 GPU cores is a good investment, although it will be a pricey one. The M1 Max with 24 GPU cores is the one I'm getting for my 3D design workflow. As for the unified memory, I think 32GB is the sweet spot for most creators, although 16GB would be my first recommendation for most people who mostly use the browser and edit videos from time to time. 64GB, in my opinion, is overkill for most workflows, unless you are a 3D designer or audio engineer. Something to keep in mind if you are coming from a Windows laptop is that the RAM cannot be replaced once you get your MacBook. It's soldered within the SoC. So I would highly advise paying extra attention to how much RAM you might need in the future. That is, if your workflow will get more intense. As for storage, it depends on how big your files are, especially for editing multiple 8K videos. I would want to keep my files on the internal SSD because it's simply faster, around 7.4 GB per second. If that doesn't concern you, then you could just add external storage wherever you need it. Something that you cannot do, obviously, with the unified memory. Now, here's a list of my recommendation when it comes to configuring your MacBook Pro, depending on your use case. So those are my recommendations if you are a Windows user trying to configure a MacBook for your needs. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content, subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you guys in the next one.